Hey everybody, Jay with Jay Prior Consulting. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about arguing with reality. We've been talking a little bit about this on my 11 a.m. calls. If you haven't joined us for those, they're Mondays and Fridays at 11 a.m. As long as the pandemic is having us stay at home, we're going to be doing those calls. We've had some really powerful conversations, and one of them has been about arguing with reality. Human beings have a tendency to argue with reality. When we get mad at how things are, you're arguing with reality. And during this pandemic, wow, do we have a lot of stuff that we could argue with. We could be mad that we have to stay home. We could argue with that reality. We could be mad that we have to homeschool our children. We could argue with that reality. We could be mad that some of you aren't sure and there's a lot of uncertainty. We could be mad at that. And so there's this muscle to flex around acceptance. Now, the very first step to get to acceptance is admitting and or acknowledging or even becoming conscious of the fact that you're resisting something, that you're pushing against something. So what that feels like is usually irritability, and if I could give it to you in a physical form, it would look like this. It's like, right? Pushing against something. And in our work, right, we know that what you resist persists, right? Anything that you resist persists. It will come at you stronger as long as you're pushing at it. And so we have to find a way to accept it. So the first step, obviously, is acknowledging that we're resisting in the first place. To acknowledge that we're frustrated, angry, irritated, mad at reality, at how it is now. So we have to acknowledge that. And once we get there, once we can start to notice, oh man, I'm doing that thing, or I'm either resisting something or I'm arguing with reality, I'm doing that thing again. Once you acknowledge that, then that's a good step. That's a very first step to getting to acceptance. But then, how do you just accept it? You just be like, fine, I have to just accept all this stuff. To some degree, there is this letting go process. So in our work, one of the things we start with is willingness. Willingness is one of the greatest keys to personal development that I can give you. If you can show up willing in personal development, you will go so far. I can't even tell you. One of my skills and one of my strengths, I would assert, is that I've always been really ready and willing to do the work because I know that on the other side of it, there's going to be this amazing breakthrough, or I'm at least going to feel better. And the goal here is to have you feel better, right? So the very first step in getting to acceptance is the willingness to accept things the way they are. The willingness to say, I can't push against this anymore because I have no control over that. So I'm going to focus on either something I can control or being willing to start to release this and figure out then what's the next step in front of me to do that has me feel better. So the first step is acknowledging that you're resisting. The second step is to get willing to let it go. Now, in my work, one of the things we do is we make sure that you're never affirming something that sets off your BS meter. So you don't want to be looking in the mirror going, I accept everything and love everybody and blah, blah, because your BS meter will just go, no, thank you. So we really have to get to a point where we can say, okay, look, I'm willing to let some of this go. And then see what happens. Just start with that willingness, even if it takes you every time, over and over again, starting to tell yourself, I'm willing, and maybe ask for help. So asking for help for me is second nature. It's something I do a lot. And for me, when I'm asking for help, I'm asking for help from the universe, from my past people who have passed on. I really, have a whole belief system that I'm not the only person on this planet, alive or dead, and that there are people in the world that can help me. And every single time I ask for help, either somebody materializes, there's a teacher that comes about and is my source for help, or I feel relieved, right? I feel a little bit oh, okay, I can figure this out, right? So asking for help is very powerful, but most importantly, it's starting to put our focus on the willingness. When you start to shift your focus towards that willingness, what we focus on always expands. You have to remember this. What you focus on always gets bigger. It's just part of the deal. So if you can focus on willingness, you shift your focus to being willing. You shift your focus to start to let it go. I promise you're going to get some relief. And, you may need to cry and process some emotions or do any of that. But if you consistently and constantly are pushing against something, and all it's going to do is wear you out. I promise you, there is nothing good from just constantly resisting and pushing against how things are. And believe me, there's a whole world out there that I could resist, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that I could just be pissed off about every single day. I just choose not to, right? For me, it's a choice as to where I put my focus. So I put my focus on being willing to accept, being willing to let go, and be willing to be in action to make a difference. And man, is that a lot better feeling than being angry, pissed off, resisting, all of that. So I invite you to consider that you're in charge and that you have a say in how your day goes, and where your focus is really makes that difference. And when you're resisting something, if you could shift your focus to just asking for help, being willing, and looking for positive, powerful answers, I promise you it'll shift for you no matter what. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you on our calls, and no matter what, stay safe.